Hi, I'm starting the Kerdana Orb pattern. So for this one we use 2 strands of yarn that we knit together. One is a mohair and one is a wool. I've got my needles here and I'm going to cast on 6 stitches using the long tail cast on. So it's probably going to be about that much needed. Just hold the 2 strands over the needle and then position your fingers like so. This is called the slingshot position. So I have just made a triangle with my index finger on my right hand and then the thumb and first finger on the left hand into the slingshot position, and I'm going under the thumb there and across over the top on the other side, looping it through, and that creates a stitch. So the first stitch was where I just held the yarn over the top of the needle, so I now have 2 stitches. So do that again. So into the slingshot position, under the thumb, over the top of the strands on the other side, looping it through. That's my 3rd stitch. Again, 4th stitch, 5th and 6th. And I'm not pulling it really tight, just sort of firm but not super tight, so I can easily get the needle through. Turn my work over so that I've got my stitches on the left. And our first row is a wrong side row and it's a purl. So right hand needle goes up through the first stitch over the top of the left, and to purl I'm taking my working yarn and looping it around that top needle. So we're going underneath the top needle and back, and then slide it through, under, slide the stitch off, and that is a purl stitch. So once again we're going up through the front of the stitch and the 2 needles cross with my right hand needle over the top. My working yarn is at the front and that's looping across around underneath the right hand needle, holding it firmly but not tightly, slide that needle back and under and off, and again purl up through the front there, around under the top needle, sliding it back and off to purl. So we're just purling all of those stitches for our first row, which is a wrong side row. Okay, that's row 1 done. Turning our work over to start our next row, which is a right side row and an increase row. So to increase, we slip the first stitch purlwise with yarn in front. So take our right hand needle and our yarn is in the front there. Just go up through the front of the stitch as if we're going to purl and just slip it off. So that is slipping the first stitch purlwise with the yarn in the front. Now the next stitch is an increase, so we are knit front back. So to do this, take our working yarn around to the knit position, which is underneath and around to the back. Knit into the front of the next stitch, and then without sliding that off, we are going to knit into the back of that same stitch. So knitting into the back loop there, and knit and slide off. So you can see we've created an extra stitch out of that 1 stitch. So we now have 3 on our right hand needle, and then we are placing a marker. So just slide that marker on there, and we are doing some rib stitches, so purling the next stitch so the yarn comes to the front of our work again, and we're going up through the front and purling that first stitch and off, knitting the next stitch. So we take the yarn around to the back of our work to the knit position, knit the next stitch, purling the next stitch, so yarn comes around to the front and the needle goes up through the front to purl, and then knitting the last stitch round to the back of our work and knit. So that is row, our first setup row, right side row. So we're now doing our next setup row, which is on the wrong side. So we are we're ribbing those 4 stitches again. So we're starting, because we're on the wrong side, we're starting with a purl, so up through the front, purl. Next stitch is a knit stitch, and you can see that because we've got the little V's showing, which means that's a knit stitch. So our yarn goes around to the back and we knit into that front of that stitch, slide it off. Our next stitch is a purl stitch, which is shown by the purl bump there. So we're bringing our yarn around to the front of our work, purling that knit stitch, and now we're on to a knit stitch again and knitting that last one. So in this pattern we have 4 stitches that are always rib, so knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1 on the right side, or purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1 on the wrong side, and that stays the same throughout the pattern. And then as you see, as we get more increases on our needle, you will see how that works a bit more clearly. So then we're slipping our stitch marker and we're just purling to the end. So we're just purling those last 3 stitches. And that is our second setup row. So now we are into the 2 main pattern rows. So these will be the same through to the middle of our scarf. So first of all, we're slipping. So it's a right side row, row 1, right side, slipping that first stitch purlwise with our yarn in the front. So just slip it off, and that creates a nice edge for our scarf. And we're increasing, so we're taking our yarn around to the back and we're doing a knit front back, so knit into the front. Don't slide that stitch off, knit into the back, creating the extra stitch, and slide it off. And then just knit to marker. So in this case we've only got 1 stitch left before the marker, so we just knit that, slide our marker, and we are doing our rib stitches again. So yarn around to the front, purl, knit, purl, knit. Okay, and then the second part of our pattern repeat, which is a 2-row pattern repeat for the first half of our scarf, is just doing those rib stitches again on the wrong side. So purl, knit, purl, knit, and slipping that marker and just purling, because we're on a wrong side row, so it's always purling these stitches after the marker. So purling those stitches to the end of our row. Okay, so I am just going to do a few more rows so that you can see more clearly how the pattern is going to look, and I will come back and show you.